All right. Nvidia launched the RTX 5070 Ti, and you probably can't get one. If you could get it at MSRP, it's actually one of the more compelling cards in the 50 series lineup yet. However, I'm going to play a little game with you guys called Can I Get a 5070 Ti for MSRP? All right. I'm going to stay at United States. That's a pretty large market. Should get a pretty reasonable amount of the, allocation. Newegg, pretty large retailer. Okay, well, there's one small problem. First of all, this lowest price in 30 days on an Asus TUF is $1,000. That's a lot more than $750. Sometimes the custom cards with, bigger, beefier power delivery or cooling can be a little bit on the higher side, but I don't know if, years ago I would have ever seen one that was $250 more, but, hey, whatever, sure. Let's go ahead and let's check out this Gigabyte Eagle. Hey, that's a much more reasonable price. Okay, yeah. We got an MSI Ventus. Okay, that's typically on the kind of lower end, and it's on the lower end of the pricing, only a mere $80 more than MSRP. Out of stock. Okay, ooh, hey, look, one at MSRP, and out of stock. Asus Prime. Yep, Prime, plumb out of stock. Yeah, I don't know if it was on the record or not, but I did sort of express some of my concerns about the long-term reputational damage that Nvidia might be doing to their long-term reputation with these this over-promising and under-delivering that's happening on pricing and availability. And I won't give too many details about what was or wasn't said to me other than, I was told that 5070 Ti would be better. And I was like, sure. And then it wasn't better at all. And there are elements of this that NVIDIA cannot control. NVIDIA can't really control if retailers or distributors are selling in bulk to scalpers, for instance. They can't control that. NVIDIA can't control if their partners down the chain are increasing prices in order to take more margin when the market will clearly bear it. They can't really control that to a degree. But one thing that does bother me a little bit is that NVIDIA can control how much stock they launch with. NVIDIA can control that. NVIDIA can make a decision to give their partners longer net terms for the chipsets. NVIDIA can make a decision to look at their existing stock, their existing pre-launch inventory, and they can delay the launch to allow themselves more time to build up that inventory. That is a decision that NVIDIA can make, and a decision that NVIDIA clearly decides not to make with every launch. And I want to shout out Nintendo here, actually, because based on the frequency and thoroughness of the leaks around the Switch 2, I am actually starting to believe what Nintendo hinted at months ago, which was that their strategy to combat scalpers was that they were going to launch with so much inventory that it would literally not be possible for scalpers to absorb all of the inventory and then sort of trickle it out at much higher prices. Do you remember this conversation, Luke? You can just nod absolutely. If your mic sucks. Yeah, cool. It's a Linus Wan show today. No, we'll get him. Don't worry. We'll get him back online, everyone. I mean, when was that? I think it was sometime like mid to late last year or something like that. That was sort of rumored or something. I can't remember the exact details. But the point is that I was pretty surprised to see that Nintendo didn't launch the Switch 2 during the holiday season, because the rumors were already coming at such a rate that it seemed to indicate that the hardware was pretty darn finished. I mean, from everything we've seen, the chip is based on Ampere. So Nintendo has probably had finished silicon for literally years while they work on launch titles for this thing. So that led me to believe one of two things. Either one, they didn't have their launch titles ready, and Nintendo's going to bring it for a launch title for the Switch 2. You know they're going to bring it. They're going to have one or two absolute mega bangers, and they're going to be ready to go with that. So that was thought number one, was they just didn't have it. But then I kind of went, well, yeah, but it looked like the hardware was probably ready for like Tears of the Kingdom. Like Tears of the Kingdom would have been just such a... it would have put such an exclamation point on the Switch 2 launch, right? So we go, okay, we've got Breath of the Wild that launches with Switch 1. Boom. Sequel to the Switch. Boom. Sequel to one of the most successful games we've ever launched, Tears of the Kingdom. Let's go. Like, it seemed like such an obvious one. And then, no, Tears of the Kingdom comes for the Nintendo Switch. We see no Switch 2, and it's delayed. I mean, I think the rumors these days are what? Probably sometime in Q2? It's kind of the word on the street. Have you heard anything, Luke?
Yeah, nothing too specific. But I don't suspect it'll be a huge delay after the Direct, and the Direct is around that time, so that probably makes sense.
Yeah, so probably sometime around there. So if that's the case, it is conceivable that Nintendo is manufacturing Switch 2s literally will be manufacturing Switch 2s for anywhere between weeks and months in the lead up to this launch in order to stockpile enough inventory in order to support it. And there's a lot of other companies that behave like that. I'm holding a product from one of them in my hand. I remember having my eyes kind of opened at one point about, why Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple and what kind of company Apple is. A lot of people think of Apple as what? A technology company, right? A hardware company, a software and services company. But if you really break it down, what is Apple better at than almost literally any other company on the planet? They're a logistics company. Man, they kill it. Every little screw, every little widget, every little glass element. When an iPhone launches, you can buy one. You might wait a little bit. But speaking as someone who's often not really on the ball about getting our devices ordered, even though, I'm theoretically a tech YouTuber or whatever. Like, we'll place sometimes the approvals take a little bit of time, and we'll place our order like late in the day or the next day. And dude, a new MacBook will come out and we'll wait like 4 days or like a week and a half or something like that for it to ship. Like, they have the logistics nailed down. Absolutely nailed down. And that's a really hard thing to do, but it's also easier to do if you take some of your cash and you use it to facilitate a smooth launch for your customers. Why do Apple's customers love them? Because when you place a freaking order, I just placed an order recently for the I switched to Apple for a month thing for my, wait, has that video come out yet? Oh, well, that video is not out yet, but I just placed an order on apple.com. And I bought, well, I'm not going to tell you guys what I bought, but I bought some computers. Okay. Anyway, the point is I bought some Macs to switch to, and I get a text message. I get a shipping notification. It's smooth. And Nvidia is going to have to figure out at some point that your customer expectation for you needs to be that when you want the product, you get the product at the price that you say it's going to be at. Otherwise, what are we even doing here? What is the point of you even telling us what the price is? Why don't you just not tell us anything?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've been getting away with like blatantly, I don't know if I want to say lying, extremely misleading information about performance in keynotes for many years at this point. Their stock is never what you'd expect. The pricing of things hasn't been legitimate for, I don't know, 6 years, something like that. Like, I don't necessarily think they're going to be encouraged to change unless they have competition, and they don't have that right now. So I don't know. Like people can be as mad at them as they want, but if everyone keeps buying their junk, then it's not going to matter.
Well, that's the thing that's frustrating, because it's not junk. It's a good product and people want to buy it. But it's the expectations versus reality that I think is really getting us here. Like, look, if we could review the 5070 Ti and Nvidia were to say to us, yeah, realistic street pricing is, probably going to be anywhere from $850 to $1,000, then at least we can communicate that. We can work with that. We can say, hey, this is a good card. It's not a great value, Like this'll handle high refresh rate 1440p gaming and light 4K gaming. You'll get more FPS out of it if you use these AI enhancement features, and you can kind of decide how you feel about that, etc. Pricing is a real weak point, and we can have that conversation. But if we are not given useful information, then I don't really know how to deal with that. And I think that on some level at Nvidia, they've got to know that they're not giving the partners enough margin to hit these MSRPs, because that's feedback that I've heard, in the background from Nvidia partners going back 10 years. That Nvidia is constantly squeezing their margins tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter with every generation. I mean, it's no mystery why EVGA doesn't exist anymore as a GPU maker, because you can't operate on these margins. You're caught between customer pricing expectations and Nvidia's margin expectations for their own shareholders, right? And so if Nvidia knows that they're not giving their partners enough margin to hit these prices, then just say that. Because it's not a bad product. I wouldn't mind a 5070 Ti. But
for sure.
Where am I supposed to get one? Look at this. It's like, at a certain point, I just have to kind of look at it and go, and this is honestly not good for my career, but at a certain point, I just have to look at it and go, why do you even seed me one then? Save it for a customer, because clearly they're just going to buy it anyway. Why even bother having reviews?
That's kind of brutal, but yeah.
Like I would rather somebody is gaming on that card, because I'm not gaming on it. It's sitting in my warehouse.
Well, I mean, you're even talking. It's not just sitting in your warehouse, sir. We're using it in the lab. Shush. But we're even thinking like, at some point in time, we're going to have to get our standard set of lab 5090s for CPU testing, so that we can reduce GPU as a variable. In order to do that, we have to get a bunch of them. We have to buy a bunch of them. How do we even adopt to that if we can't get the cards because they don't exist?
I don't know. I'm just rooting for 9070. I haven't paid much attention to the rumors. Radeon 9070, guys. I haven't paid much attention to the rumors, so I don't know what the sort of scuttlebutt is for why it's been delayed. But it obviously got delayed, given that AMD had ads going up in other regions to buy it when it hadn't actually been launched yet. I don't know why it's been delayed, but I really hope that it's not being delayed because it's bad. I hope it's just being delayed because AMD is seeing an opportunity to not screw up, and they're like going to capitalize on it, and they're pumping as many of these chips as they can so they can do a huge launch and have as many cards as gamers could possibly want to buy, and the drivers are going to be so polished and it's going to be freaking awesome. What are my odds, Luke? What are my odds?
Pretty low, I think. Pretty low.
Are we just saying that, though, because AMD's Radeon division has let us down time and 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 time again?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Chat is not. Oh, man. Chat is not. Not confident. They're not confident. Oh, hold on. Noki. Noki says, in a response to Hardware Unboxed, AMD's David McAfee shared, I really appreciate the excitement for RDNA 4. We're focused on ensuring it's great. They take a little extra time for software to blah, blah, blah. More FSR 4. Wide range of partners. And while some have started building initial inventory at retailers, you should expect many... And it trails off there. Perfect. Thanks, Noki. You should expect many more partner cards available at launch. Okay. But that's the thing, AMD. I don't actually need a ton of different cards. What I need is deep stock of a handful. Because realistically, I mean, as much as your partners, I'm sure, really appreciate getting allocation of the chips and being able to put their cooler on it and their PCB design and all that kind of stuff. From a customer point of view, I don't really care. Like, doesn't really matter. I just need the GPU that does that many FPSs in my gamey games. Like it, I don't really care. I don't need, you know, what is this? I don't need 15 cards to scroll through that are out of stock. It doesn't matter. Just please get the cards built, get them on the shelves. I'm super excited. I hope. Or I'm upset. We'll see. We'll find out.
Could be both.
Yeah, it could be both. I could be upset, excited.